This team so far they've hung their hat on the defensive end of the basketball, which has been really interesting. The defensive basketball is definitely Kansas basketball under Bill Self. Very defensive oriented, very high energy. And that is what this team has been.
What's going on, Tar Heel Nation? Nathan and Tori here. We are your Hill Brothers, and welcome into the very first episode of Hill Brothers Court Vision. This is very similar, if you guys are fans of the football coverage that we do during football season, where we do a series called the Scouting Report, where we bring in somebody that covers the opposing team, and we want to talk to them and ask them about what can Carolina fans expect when those two teams match up on any given day. And we're bringing that over to basketball. And today, Tori, we've got ourselves an awesome guest here. We've got Landen Fields from Rock Chalk Blog. Dude, I appreciate you for coming on today, man.
Oh, yeah. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, dude. You know, when we looked up Kansas, we knew we wanted to do this for key games this year. Court Vision, where you know we want to bring basketball fans in. It's hard to do it for every single game, considering there's so many games played all throughout the week. But when you have a team like Kansas coming in, this is a top 25 matchup. Number 25 North Carolina, number 19 Kansas. It is something that we got to just have as much fun with as we can, dude. But Landon, I'm going to open it up to you, brother. What can North Carolina fans expect from this Kansas team on Friday night?
They can expect Darren Peterson, the number one overall recruit in the country. He has been projected as the number one overall draft pick in the 2026 NBA draft for quite some time at this point. He is sensational. He's in my opinion, he's the best guard Kansas has had in probably going on 7 or 8 years. If maybe your listeners are familiar with Frank Mason, Devontae Graham, two absolutely iconic Bill Self-era guards at Kansas. I think Peterson is the best guy since either of those. Since Devontae Graham, he played at Kansas last. He's absolutely sensational. He's grades out as one of the best scorers that Bill Self maybe has ever had, especially on the perimeter. Kansas played Green Bay on Monday night. Green Bay, not exactly a program of North Carolina's level, perhaps. But Peterson did have, I think it was either 21 or 22 that night. He looks sensational. It's a solid roster. The last 2 years have had Hunter Dickinson kind of as the primary player on the Jayhawks. A figure of controversy among Kansas fans, somewhat hated actually at this point, which I think is interesting for a guy that averaged like 18 and like 12 essentially for 2 seasons. I'm not his biggest fan. I'm definitely not his biggest hater either. But Darren Peterson, Flory Badunga is now the starting center in place of Dickinson. He was on the team last year. We all liked him quite a bit. He's starting. Also had 23 points against Green Bay the other night. So those two guys, I think they're going to play a lot of pick and roll. And there's a lot of nice pieces, I think, that fit in pretty well around the perimeter as well. So I think Kansas is a pretty well-rounded team this season. I think more well-rounded than they have been either of the last 2 years, definitely more so than last year.
Looking into this team, there has been some turnover this year. Some guys leaving, Hunter Dixon being one of them. The guard Star as well, AJ Star gone as well. Also, I just wrote his name down. Rylan Griffin as well, who had a field day against North Carolina last year when we played against each other. What was it like for Bill Self to be able to go in there? You lose some key contributors, but it seems like he's flipped that roster pretty well.
Yeah, and that's something he has done essentially like all the last really 2 or 3 years now. Is essentially, I mean, that's the era we're living in college sports. Obviously, you guys talk about college football too. That's been a huge thing in college football as well. The transfer portal is everywhere. It's unstoppable. It's here to stay, especially in the NIL era. So that's definitely been a topic we've discussed quite a bit. Is Bill Self flipping the roster? It's interesting because you mentioned Griffin, you mentioned AJ Storr, Zeke Mayo was a guy on that team as well. He was a senior and graduated, but he's a guy who's a 1-year piece on that team, came in as a transfer and left as well, and was a contributor on that squad, averaged like 14 or 15 a night. And so that team, as we discussed at length on the Inside the Paint podcast, if any of you guys are interested in checking that out over on the Rock Chalk blog feed, we discussed at length the sort of odd roster fit of last year's team, in particular, with Dickinson, a guy who really couldn't shoot at all, and definitely could not shoot from the perimeter. KJ Adams, a guy who absolutely was not scoring outside of like 10 feet, and DeJuan Harris, a guy who more or less at point guard, a guy who kind of refused to score outside of 10 feet. Even though he was not ever an elite three-point shooter, a guy that could take those and just kind of didn't. And so even with pieces like Rylan Griffin, who has been good for Texas A&M and did have a good game against North Carolina last year, and Zeke Mayo, both were guys that in theory were good pieces for a squad like that had a lot of interior scoring, but it just never really clicked. A guy like AJ Storr was a guy who came in pretty highly touted and just did not work. Never really found his stride, had a couple good games, but again, just really did not figure out a way to fit into that team very well. And that was sort of the name of the game for the whole team, is that it just never quite worked as a unit. The players individually all looked solid on paper and all had been good, very good even, in different places or at different times. But as a unit just didn't work. So I was not crying a lot of tears over the roster essentially being wiped. And I think this year's squad makes a lot more sense on paper. Obviously, we're one game in against Green Bay. So there's a lot left to see. But I do think, in general, the actual construction of this team makes a lot more sense, is built around more specific roles and is built around more specific players. And I think in the long run, that is going to be better for Kansas this year. But roster flips are always hard, and you never quite know what you're going to get out of roster flips sort of definitionally. So you never really know. I know North Carolina also brought in several freshmen, several transfers. So I'm sure you guys are going through a very similar process right now.
Yes. So, Landon, speaking of you talking about the roster, I see when y'all played Green Bay, y'all had guards, like 4 guards, get significant minutes. There was it was 4 of your guards like in 20 plus minutes, and then Badinga he had significant minutes, and he's your forward. So is there a method to the madness where you play a lot of guards and have your one forward? I know there's Bryson Tiller, he's your big guy. Y'all have another big guy, but 4 guards and Badinga getting significant minutes. Is that by design or a method to the madness?
I think so. So this team actually only has like 3 true post players on the roster. Badunga being one, Tiller, and then Paul Mbaya, who he played very limited minutes. He's played very limited minutes in the exhibitions and also against Green Bay. Didn't get a lot of run. So I do think you are very likely to see a lot of a 4-guard lineup on Friday. Bryson Tiller can definitely he's pretty smooth on the ball, actually. He's a guy that can handle the ball on the open floor a little bit. He's not afraid to step out. He took a couple 3-pointers against Green Bay, got one to drop. He's a guy that can play a little more on the perimeter, can be more of a true 4, even a little bit of a stretch 4. But I do think primarily because Floyd Badunga, he's an excellent player, I think, but definitely one of the knocks on him is that he does foul quite a bit. So I don't know how much Bill Self can actually afford to play 2 true post players at a time, because if you do lose Badunga, if Tiller's really young, you don't know exactly what you can count on him. And Mbaya, they seem to not have a ton of trust in, at least yet. So I think you will see a lot of Darren Peterson. Melvin Council has been really nice so far. As kind of a second point guard. Trey White is going to play a lot of catch and shoot on the perimeter, sort of traditional small forward role. And then so far they've been rolling with Cole Rosario, a true freshman who actually reclassified up a year. He's struggled a little bit, but a very high energy player, plays his butt off. So that's not really going to be a problem. So I think you're going to see that kind of starting for the guards, and then probably Badunga and Tiller coming in and out a lot. But yeah, I think the 4 guards is definitely going to be the name of the game for Kansas this season.
I hope you guys have a better time with that than we did last season, because we played a lot of guards last year, and it ultimately did not work out for us. So maybe Bill Self's got the right chemistry with those guys, unlike unfortunately us. That is for sure, man. But I want to talk about a little bit about this team. And what is, we always hear Bill Self-coach teams. What's the identity of this team? Because it does, Tori hit on it perfectly. There is such a turnover in this roster, and it is very guard-centric. what is the mindset of this Kansas team? Is this typical Kansas basketball that we're looking at here, or is this maybe a new rendition and a maybe a reinventing of the wheel a little bit there for Bill Self?
That's a great question. This team so far they've hung their hat on the defensive end of the basketball, which has been really interesting. Defensive basketball is definitely Kansas basketball under Bill Self. Very defensive oriented, very high energy, and that is what this team has been so far. Is a lot of high effort on defense. A lot of guys, maybe even a little too much. They went for a lot of steals against Green Bay with it, up like 25. So I guess you're going to go for steals when you're up 25 against Green Bay. But I do think that is going to be the identity of this team. At least it has been so far, and I think that is that is Bill Self's wheelhouse. That is very up his alley. That is the type of team he likes to coach. That is the type of team that he has had a lot of success with. Is when you can hang your hat on defense. You're going to be defensively solid. You're not going to give up a lot of points. You're going to get a great effort on that end. You pair that with elite guard play, like he's had in the past with the aforementioned Devontae Graham or Frank Mason. Those teams were excellent. Those teams went to Elite Eights and Final Fours and won Big 12s. This team has, at least on paper, a similar makeup in that I think this team can be really good on defense, especially with the effort they have shown so far. And then you throw in a Darren Peterson who is hopeful to be one of the elite guards in the country alongside some of these other guys who I like quite a bit so far in limited time, who I think can give you some points, can give you effort, can get you great defensive minutes as well. So I think is the hopeful identity of the squad is defense first, and then let your stars be stars, particularly with Peterson and Badunga. And that is the type of team Bill Self has won a lot with. So we're excited about that over here. It's a team that Bill Self has won a lot with, or type of team Bill Self has won a lot with. And so hopefully that's what they go with, because that's not really been the case the last couple seasons.
So Landon, you said, that you've only seen your team, for a limited time. Everybody has. But in your opinion, at this point, besides Darren Peterson and Badinga, who do you say is like an X factor? Who do you say could really, have a breakout game at any point and but it's kind of flying under the radar for Kansas?
I think so far their third best player has been Melvin Council Jr. He was a transfer out of St. Bonaventure, if I'm not mistaken. He might have been a multi-school guy as well, if I'm remembering correctly. I think he's directly out of St. Bonaventure. He's been kind of a box score stuffer so far. Had 10 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Is not a guy that's going to shoot the ball a lot, but is a guy that can get to the cup pretty much whenever he feels like it. Is a good free throw shooter. Gets to the free throw line a decent amount so far. He's also a great defensive player. He had a great quote when he transferred. Last year there was a discourse about how among the fan base, at least, that Kansas was sort of lacking in dogs on their squad. Didn't have a lot of dogs on the roster. And Melvin Council said, "If you're not a dog, you're dog food," when he transferred to Kansas, and that was a quote that went around and it was pretty popular for a while. And I was in Allen Fieldhouse, was fortunate enough to be there for the Green Bay game, and the student section was like wolfing at him. He like went up to the student section after the game, and they were like barking at him and stuff. So he's already a fan favorite pretty quickly for that. He's definitely the type of guy that I would not be shocked if he has a few games this year where he goes to the line like 12 times, goes 12 for 12 kind of thing. He's definitely the type of guy that if for whatever reason, if Peterson is just having an off night, Council would be the guy that I would say, give that guy the ball, and he's at least the most likely to make a play for you.
That
if you're not a dog, you're dog food, man.
I love that. Honestly, I really love that quote. I'm not gonna lie, that is awesome. North Carolina's gonna look to not be dog food on Friday night. That is for sure. That's so good. For us at least, and I want to ask you this question as well, because for North Carolina, when we've been doing live watch parties for these games, the exhibitions, and last night being our opening game against the Bears. But what is something for you guys that when you've come into the season you weren't expecting, and then about the team, maybe the way they're playing, maybe in the style of which they're playing, maybe something that you're unfamiliar with? Because at Carolina, we're seeing our team playing. I mean, it's a complete 180 from what we saw last year. Is there something that has surprised you guys about your team, maybe watching through exhibitions and even in the Green Bay game?
Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe to subvert your question a little bit, I guess, is the thing that's been surprising is that it hasn't been super surprising yet. It's kind of been to script so far, at least expectation-wise. Maybe the only couple surprises are actually slightly on the negative end, which is there's one player in particular, Jaden Dawson, who also came in as a transfer from Loyola Chicago. He was the first transfer they brought in the offseason, and was like a solid player at Loyola and was sort of expected for a long time to maybe be the starting two guard, at least be a starter, be a guy that was going to play quite a bit, and has not played a lot and has not played it all that well so far. So that's kind of been an unfortunate surprise. Otherwise, yeah, I think honestly, which is not normal for Kansas. Usually there's something that's very strange fairly early. That like it kind of has been a little bit of what we've expected through a month of the season so far.
That's wild.
Yeah. So I don't know how much information you know about this, Landon, but KJ Adams been with Kansas for a long time. He was there when we played in the championship, but I know he got injured last year, but he's still a part of Kansas in some capacity. Is KJ Adams eligible to play again, and will he don a Kansas uniform again? Do you know about that?
He is out of eligibility. He is. I don't know his official title. I believe he's a grad assistant. He is on the coaching staff in the capacity that they have him. I'm not sure exactly. I believe it is a grad assistant. It might be something slightly different. Maybe he's the video coordinator. That rings a bell as I'm talking. But no, he will not play for Kansas. Again, no eligibility. But yeah, he's part of the coaching staff, which is cool. We love KJ as a guy for sure.
Cool.
And I think Tori here also had a question about that championship game as well. You was bringing it up.
Yeah.
You mentioned it to me earlier.
Fair. I mean, it's pretty
I mean,
relevant.
I gotta ask, man. I gotta ask. So in the championship game, at halftime when y'all was down 15, what was going through your mind at that point?
What was going through my mind at that point is what teams on FIFA am I going to play as? I was beyond pissed off. I was living with my parents at the time. I went into our basement. I believe it was FIFA that I turned on. I was like, I can't do this. I can't be brought this far again to be let down again. This was the team.
That's
and
crazy.
I remember specifically, I had just finished the sitcom New Girl not too long before, and I turned on a New Girl rewatch podcast and was playing FIFA, and I was like, I can't give up on my boys like that. I got to at least watch them go out, if nothing else, because that team had a lot of guys who'd been there for a while with Ochai Baji, Jalen Wilson, David McCormick, Mitch Lightfoot. Love him or hate him, most people love him. I was like, at least I gotta watch these guys go out. Then so to calm my nerves and to stay in the moment, I kept the New Girl podcast on for a while watching the second half. But yeah, halftime was one of the most a dire moment of the season for me. I completely checked out for like 10 minutes.
Yeah. Oh man.
What about you guys?
Stark contrast.
That's an enormous pain point for you guys, I'm sure, in memory. What was your thought process halftime of the Natty?
Yeah, me, Tori, and Alan were all together, and it was great.
Yeah. We was having a great time, but in the back of my mind, I was like, UNC, don't mess it up. And look what they did. Messed it up. In the back of my mind, man.
And I was worried about us coming into that game after having to play such a emotional game before. It's Duke, it's North Carolina. That had never happened ever in tournament history.
An all-time classic level.
North Carolina, my God. And we sent Coach K packing. I'm like, dude, this is a lot that they're having to put together for this. And I knew we were thin anyway. And I'm like, boy, eventually something's just going to have to give.
Yeah.
Please let it give it like for 10 seconds left in the game. Just let it give then.
Right.
Wait, maybe we can make it through. We can just make it, and it didn't happen. But I want to ask here, and we'll wrap this up. Tori, do you happen to have another question for him as far as basketball related?
No.
Well, I want to have some fun with this because through our scouting report series, and we're going to be doing this over here at Court Vision too, we like to talk to, since we get to bring you guys on, we like to figure out and learn new things, right? We want to learn about some different things that you guys do at university. So what are some traditions that maybe people people know or people would know unless they just happen to stumble upon them? Some super cool traditions that you guys do out there at Kansas.
Yeah, the one probably everyone knows, especially Carolina fans. Carolina fans are great basketball fans, as far as I can tell. Is the one that is the coolest, the one that is the most synonymous with the program is the Rock Chalk chant, Rock Chalk Jayhawk KU. And everyone knows that, but that is like until you are in Allen Fieldhouse 5 minutes before tip-off and you hear Rock Chalk Jayhawk going through the stadium, or if you're at the end of a game and they're winning, they also will do the Rock Chalk chant again. Sort of that beautiful, haunting kind of vibe. That's again probably the most synonymous. That is really cool. One that they do that I think is really neat every year for Late Night in the Fog, the like preseason tip off, like first look at the team kind of party atmosphere thing. They play what they call the Dream On video. So they play like Dream On by Aerosmith, but they'll do it over like the previous season's highlights. And they'll do that like every year, and they'll just run the highlights over Dream On, and they'll usually play like some of the epic all-time clips or like some great quotes from Bill Self from, like there's one introductory press conference where he says there's a bunch of great places to play, but there's no place like Kansas that plays every game. So the Dream On video is really cool. Trying to think if Kansas, very tradition-rich program. I'm sure that there's plenty that I'm forgetting. Those are the two of my favorites for sure. The Rock Chalk chant is very hard to beat. Every under 4 timeout in Allen Fieldhouse, they play the Hum, great EDM song. Place gets lit. Even against Green Bay, when you're up like 30, they play the Hum at the under 4 timeout, and they bring out like a Kansas flag and like pull it over one side of the student section. Everyone goes crazy. So the atmosphere in there is completely insane. Even for a game like Green Bay, they still had like an EDM song before tip-off, and like both ends of the arena are like jumping up and down and just like pulsing. It's pretty wild.
See, that's stuff that I can get down with, man. Like, I like to have fun whenever I go to these games, man, and to hear traditions and stuff. Yeah, I've told Alan, I'm like, dude, eventually we're just gonna have to start like going out there and just like seeing different places.
Oh, you should
doing that. Because like we just did a Cal scouting report, and the people at Cal, we got invited to like 18 different barbecues for Cal. It was great. It was awesome stuff. So yeah, we got to definitely go do something. I like that. Real quick question here, and then I want to get your predictions for this game.
Yeah,
as well. But how is Roy Williams remembered at Kansas?
I think Roy is pretty universally beloved. Certainly as a guy,
Good.
I think he's pretty beloved. Obviously, he did not win the final game ever at Kansas, and I think it would be an outright lie to say it wasn't a little bit painful to watch your ex get married a couple times when he won a couple natties at North Carolina. Particularly the second one, I remember just kind of 1,000-yard staring, like, man, why wasn't this ever us? But no, I think Roy Williams absolutely beloved, and he seems like he has nothing but very, very fond memories of Kansas. Has nothing but positive things to say about the Jayhawks. So no, we love Roy.
Yeah, he's become. I mean, dude, he shows up to everything of ours. It's ridiculous. We absolutely love that dude.
I always love seeing him on TV too when they cut to him, which is pretty often for Carolina games.
Right.
Yes. He was at a baseball was being played at Carolina. We were in the Super Regionals, and it was like the second game of the Super Regionals, and my brother was there with his son. And sure enough, Roy was just sitting just a couple of seats over, from him or something. It's in the same vicinity, I believe. And sure enough, got a picture with him. Nice, cool dude, and all this, that, and the other thing. And he's just a relaxed guy, man. Love that dude to death. But North Carolina, number 25 Carolina is playing number 19 Kansas this Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the Dean Dome. Kansas is favored by ESPN Matchup Predictor 58.4%. All-time record for Kansas and North Carolina is tied at 6 apiece. Fun fact, Kansas has won the last 5 games. Do they get the 6th one in their 13th matchup this Friday?
So normally we have actually done our preview podcast of this game, and that is usually when I make my first prediction for whatever game we're previewing. In the preseason show, I took Carolina to win this game. And weirdly enough, I'm actually going to stick with that. I'm going to say Carolina wins this game, and I'm going to say both teams are going to get up and down the floor decently well. I'll say Tar Heels take it like 82-78. I think Kansas. I really like the Kansas squad. Kansas has struggled on the road in the last couple seasons pretty mightily, especially by their standards. And the Dean Dome is one of the foremost environments in the country. So, and that's a very talented squad in its own right. Even if there has been a lot of turnover, you guys have a lot of quality ball players up there. So I'll take the Tar Heels. I think it's going to be a good game, and I think both teams have a good chance to be pretty good this season. I like Kansas a lot in the long run, but I think game 2, you go on the road with a young squad, a pretty new squad, would not be the first time that a good team has gone down in a tough place to play.
Wow, I'll be honest with you. I don't think I have ever had anyone come on here and actually like pick Carolina to win a game, okay, especially like when they're ranked higher than us. That is for sure. That is wild. I appreciate the honesty. I have to get that you've honestly stunned me here on the very first edition of the Court Vision.
Some of my friends say I'm too negative when it comes to Kansas. I don't think that's true. I think I'm a realist, but.
Oh, right. And honestly, dude, what's real about this is that right after we're done recording this, we're recording our preview, and I don't even know who the heck I'm picking yet, to be honest with you. Fair. I'm still debating it back and forth in my head. So when I pick it, that'll be like I have just made up my mind. Screw it. Here's the prediction, and I'm gonna live or die off of it. But sure enough, man, thank you so much for sure, Landon. Tell the whole world where you can be found, you and all your guys over there at Rock Chalk Blog.
Yeah, I am not on social media by extreme choice. So you can find me on the Inside the Paint podcast on Rock Chalk Blog. You can follow Rock Chalk Blog on Twitter. Ryan, the main host of the Inside the Paint podcast, I believe is still at Ryan_Landreth personally. And then you can find most of his opinions, cool, hot, or scalding on the Rock Chalk Blog Twitter account. So that's the best place to find it. Me for sure. Don't follow me on any other social media because I don't have it. So, and that's how I want it. So you can find all my opinions right here, all my relevant opinions on the Inside the Paint podcast.
Absolutely do. And we'll be plugging that stuff down there in the description below. If you are a Kansas fan and you haven't checked them out, be sure and go do that. Follow Landon's advice and go follow him over there, man. Go and listen to him talk some more Kansas basketball as they do their preview, and also I would assume probably a post-game show of some sort as well. Dude, appreciate you so much, man. Thank you for taking out the time and just coming out here and hanging out with us and giving us a little bit of insight on this Kansas team. And because I personally, and this goes for anything that Carolina does, especially early in the season, give me all the smoke, man. Let me play some of the best teams in the country because that's how you get better. That's how you get better. Is playing these types of teams. So like when we played BYU, number 8 BYU in the exhibition game a couple of weeks ago, and out there in Utah. A game like this won't be too much longer. We're going to be, facing Michigan State again and things. I mean, give me all the smoke, man. I like it because you want to see marquee matchups, and definitely this is going to be. Thank you, Landon. I appreciate it, Tori. It has been a great Court Vision, I will say, man. I'm really looking forward to doing more of these in the future, and hopefully you guys have too. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being here, and as always,
go Heels.